Uh, hey Rifters, how's it going? Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2024. Um, I don't like doing these type of podcasts, but whenever I lose somebody important in my life, I have to do some sort of tribute for them. And unfortunately, I lost a one of my best friends today. The great Alan Lee is no longer with us. Um, as you may or may not know, Alan had a stroke about a month ago, and a reason why he hasn't been doing a lot of Razor Riffs episodes lately is because of his job at as a school teacher. But he also was going through minor health concerns. He had gout, and that was something very hush hush. Gout isn't a big deal, but it really made him painful. And sometimes it just wore him out that he couldn't do episodes. And I understand that. I mean, just by, sorry, I have to drink some water. I'm really trying hard not to cry on this. So gout's not a big deal, but it does drain people. Um, so that's why he missed a couple episodes of the show. Um, I am just I'm at lost at words right now. Um, I'm in a I'm in a lot of pain and hurt. Alan was just one of those guys who always had your back. You know, you'd call him and be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And I met Alan at an open mic at this bar in Fullerton called Fenders. Um, maybe it was called Bernie's, but it changed its name to Fenders, and Bill Word hosted it. And Alan and I just clicked immediately. Um, I remember when I saw him, I was a very new comic, so new, like I didn't know what I was doing. And when I saw him, I just thought he was just so good. And he was just so funny. He had these he had these jokes where he he always said like, "Oh, I'm so single, I'm dating myself," and he didn't act like that. And other comics, successful comics have that similar premise. And I just thought it was just so funny because whenever Alan and I would go to comedy shows and we see comics do that premise, we would always say, "Alan, they're stealing from you." And he'd be like, "Yeah, I know." And it's just funny because they clearly weren't stealing from him. And I'm not saying he stole it from them, but it was just really funny how he was just so nice about it. And he loved Patton Oswald, like that was one of his favorite comics. And we tried so hard to get Patton on the podcast. And I remember I reached out and I tweeted for Alan's birthday, which is December 4th. And uh it's just it never happened. And it just really sucks because I think Alan would have just thought that would have been awesome. Um just him talking to his hero, kind of like how we talked to All Mine. And Alan did every single one that he could. There's a couple times, Drifters, if you follow the show and you listen to it, quite frankly, there's a couple times, Alan kind of pissed me off on the show. But then you look at those times and you think, hey, it's just funny now, you know? And it's just this is like the I can't say amazing, great things about Alan, but he changed my life and he made me a better friend to people. He made me pick up and call him back, and we used to spend on the phone just hours talking. When I was with Brittany, he really helped me emotionally after what she put me through. And then when I was with Megan, he really helped me emotionally. I remember, I don't like to badmouth my exes when they don't have a voice to defend themselves, but they were pretty evil people. And I remember when Megan was on the podcast, she tried to get me to kick Alan Lee off the show. And I told her I'm never going to leave Alan Lee. And I never did. And, you know, I'm I'm just so glad because Alan was just always there for me during that time. When Norm died, Alan was there. And then when Saget died, Alan was there. I I'm like so lost at words. These tribute shows are just so hard because you want to say something nice and you want to say something great and you want to say something where it could change the world and in this person's eyes. And all Alan wanted to do, he just wanted to do his act, and his act wasn't very acceptable, especially when politics got involved because Alan, you know, he was a big Trump supporter and he had all these Trump jokes and they were funny, but I think part of the reason why he stopped doing comedy for a while was because he was scared that he would be judged. And that's the thing Alan never knew about comedy was it doesn't matter if people like you or don't you. But comedy is one of those special things where it could really bring out brotherhoods. And that's what Alan was. He was my brother. He was the one and only. And so I have three stories I want to share. And these stories really show you what type of friend Alan Lee is. So before I started working with Norm, I was friends with Norm just by seeing him at the comedy club in Irvine. And Norm was a big Billy Joe Shaver fan. And I remember I was working, and this is before I started opening up for Norm. I was friends with Norm, but I wasn't as close with him as I ended up being like this was just acquaintance. And I remember I told Alan that Billy Joe Shaver is going to be playing in Los Angeles and I can't go. Um, can I please send you money so you could get a ticket so you could go? Because I knew Norm was going to be there because Norm tweeted it. And just ask Norm if I could open up for him when he's in Irvine. Because at this time, like I said, Norm and I were just acquaintances and he was barely taking my calls. This was before we became close. And Alan did it. And, he went to the show and he talked to Norm. And Alan goes up to Norm and um, he says, my friend Keith Reza loves you and you're his hero. And then Alan told me that Norm said, Keith Reza, I know Keith Reza. And Alan said, yeah, he wants to open up for you and be just like you. And Norm said, he's going to open up for me and be just like me. And Alan said him and Norm shared, he had a drink and he and Norm apparently had a bitter, which something Norm would drink. So just that he did that for me was just really special because I ended up working with Norm for 9 years. And that was a big, in my heart, a big push for that. I mean, maybe it would have happened without that story, but yeah, I feel it reminded Norm who I was, and it was a big push. So I do give Alan a lot of credit for that. And then another story I have, um Alan didn't have any family or friends in California. And I remember when Alan's mom died, it was very hard for him because Thanksgiving was right around the corner. His birthday's in December, and he was just having a rough time. So I invited him over for Thanksgiving dinner. I invited Alan over every single year, and he only showed up once. And he showed up this one year, and it was just so fun. It was just so happy, and you could tell what a sweet soul he was. That was the day Alan started to really like football because Thanksgiving they play football games, and Alan was just like it was like a kid with heroin, you know what I mean? Like he was just so attracted to that. I'm not saying kids do heroin, that's a bad analogy, but he was just so attracted to that TV. And then he came over for Super Bowl when the Rams were playing, and he was a big Rams fan. And it's just funny. And I just remember his smile, how great it was. And he was my comedy brother. He was actually my real brother. Like I told Alan everything. We went to Vegas several times together. And I remember one time in Vegas, we were with Stephen Briggs and Michael Amico, and we were all sharing a room. And it was just so funny because, like, we were four guys just being immature and stuff. And I just remember some of the stuff Alan was saying. It just got us laughs. The last story. Oh, I have two more stories. So the second to last story, I remember my friend Jake and I, we were hanging out with Alan, and Alan, there's a time where Alan had a big of a booze problem where he liked to drink a lot. And I remember Jake was driving and Alan said, hey, can you pull into the 7-Eleven? And Jake and I both know what that meant, to get him some booze. And then he's like, I gotta get a lottery ticket. It's a big jackpot tonight. And it wasn't a big jackpot. It was just an excuse. And I remember he's in the 7-Eleven for 10 minutes and he comes out with a Diet Coke because he knows I drink Diet Coke. And then he gets in the car, and that's all he had was a Diet Coke. And he's like, guys, bad news. They're all out of lottery tickets. And that was just the funniest thing because how can 7-Eleven be out of lottery tickets? Like, that's what they're known for. And turns out they just didn't have the booze Alan won. So, but I just remember it was just so funny. Um, so Alan did have a stroke about a month ago, and I visited him a few times in the hospital, and I held his hand, kissed him, and the last time I showed up, I told him I was going to get him some ear pods so he could listen to the podcast. And you know, last time I saw him was actually when I did the Netflix as a joke with TJ about 2 weeks ago. I stopped by to see him before the show. I gave him his autograph with Jack McGee, and I gave him some Hot Wheel toys, just to cheer him up. And after his stroke, there was only certain things he could say. Um, I gave him one of my sports hats from the Norm show, and I just saw his smile the first time I saw him, in the hospital. And got him to say, "Hey, dude," because that's what he said all the time. And you know, he said, "You know," a lot when I was talking to him. And then one of the last things he said to me was, "I love you." And I think that that's a very good message because I know in my heart that this is actually a better way for Alan Lee because his family's in New York and he has only very few selective friends. And in a way, it's a blessing that God took him so he wouldn't have to go through pain because who knows if he could have even handled it without people there to support him like that. I mean, I live in Orange County. He lives in Los Angeles, and his other friend lives in Orange County as well. So you gotta look at the bright side on that, I guess. It's just devastating. Um, it's gonna be hard for me to listen to Ray's Riffs episodes with him on it for a while. But you guys gotta do yourself a favor and listen to a couple good episodes. I wrote down ones where just Alan really shined. Um, he interviewed Ron Lynch when I wasn't there. I had a show and he interviewed Ron Lynch, and I just remember Alan was just asking Ron, "Is it true that you're single?" And Ron's like, "That is incorrect." I just remember that was really funny because Alan, when we had a guest, Alan was the worst at doing research. And there's times where it's just awkward and he asked the wrong question and then I had to save it and then Alan would be like, "Yeah, that's what I meant." And a lot of people say my goofiness works with Alan, but in the truth is our goofiness just played off each other. So I think that that's why it worked. Um, Another good episode is listen to the Kyle Kinane one. Um, I always felt Kyle didn't like me and didn't get my sense of humor, but he loved Alan. I remember we were trying to play Fuck, Mary Kill, and which is the game where you say, "Hey, you could fuck someone, marry one, or kill them." It's a childish game, and now I see how it's not funny, but at the time I thought maybe it was funny. And I kind of was like not doing good, and I kind of said, "Oh, it was Alan's idea," and then Alan's like, "No, it wasn't. I'm just here." And I remember him and Kyle just started talking about shoes and porno shoes and how you gotta listen to it. I don't remember the joke word for word, but they had like a 10-minute segment where I was just like, oh, this has to be Alan's podcast now because I was not carrying this conversation and he just shined. He was great on it. And then I remember whenever we interviewed a female guest, he would always bring him a fuck, what's that? What's that water? Purified water? It's in a green bottle. Perrier water. Yeah, that's what it's called. Perrier water in a green glass bottle. And we'd always be like, we Googled you and it says your favorite water is Perrier. And I remember a few guests didn't realize that was Googleable. And maybe it wasn't even there, but it was funny because Alan just wanted to make them laugh and smile. Um, it's always hard when you lose somebody. I'm not gonna pretend that this is easy. This is actually very hard. I've been crying. I found out about 2 hours ago and I've just been crying. And I feel like I had to be strong for this podcast because maybe in a way I knew Alan's time was short just from the stroke. I don't know. I mean, I don't, maybe I could get in trouble for saying that. I don't know. But I do feel at peace with our relationship and how great we were together. And he was just, they don't make people like Alan Lee anymore, the one and only. So do your guys a favor and listen to Alan Lee's episodes, um, especially the first 200. He's in all of them, and he does have a couple episodes that we recorded that haven't been released yet. He did Shang with me and Garrett Morris. I do have those planned to be released later, but I might push it early just out of respect for Alan and just release those two first. Um Part of my problem is I always want to record and just keep some in the tank, but I think maybe I should push it, push them forward, you know. Um yeah, it's just so much stories and time and I feel very hurt, but I feel like I had to do this tribute because I really love Alan Lee and I got emails all the time from you rifters about Alan Lee and I know he was loved and yeah. I want to see if I could find like a funny voicemail that I have from him, but do delete a lot of my voicemails. Maybe I could play a couple funny ones.
Hey, bro, I'm just checking in, man. I hope you had a good show. And you know where I stand on things. Don't worry, I'm not going to mess up the show and mention our dear president in a negative way. I'm really trying to control myself. Well,
I don't know if you heard that, but okay, here's a funny one. See if I could get this to play.
oh, Oh,
So he called me, and I guess Alexa was just giving him grief or something. I don't know.
hey,
Um,
we were just calling you back, man. Just checking in, like I said, we would do this afternoon. Um, it's night, coming up on 11:04 p.m. So we'll talk over the weekend, and well, it's all good later.
so like those were just some of the voicemails he would leave you. I want to play one more. Sometimes he goes on a rampage, so I want to.
Checking in, seeing if you're okay. And if you're in Las Vegas or Phoenix or any of those cities. So I hope you're having a good tour here on the road. And when you get back, give me a buzz, but I'm just checking in. Hope all is well. Stay funny, stay safe. Don't stop eating those fries. Just take a couple of days off from that. Um, anyway, you know what I'm saying. Later.
So like I always ate fries because I'm fat. And let's see if I can find one more. Uh, one more that has like a good funny message. I kind of liked that one where he says stay safe and I love you. Um,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You think you're the first time? Wait, look. Oh, to this good?
sometimes he would call me when he's talking to people.
Hey, you just called here. Where are you?
That wasn't a good one. I want to see if I can find a really good one to
Hey, man, you called me yesterday at 8:20 p.m. It says on my phone record. Oh, I mean, I don't remember hearing the phone ring. Let's check in later.
I want to find a really I have 1,000 of these guys, I swear.
Hey, man, I'm returning your call. It's 7:35. I think you called me 1 hour ago. It says here that you called me an hour ago. Okay.
You see that stuff just makes me laugh because he's so funny.
This is a reminder. I called. Hey, Pete, give me a call when you wake up. I'm watching Murray the Magician. Dear God, he's fantastic. So give me a call when you get up. Okay.
Yeah, I told him I was gonna have Murray. I don't think he did Murray. I think he had, but oh my God.
Hey, bro, I thought you were coming by tonight. I think I got that wrong. But if you are coming by, call me or call me anyway. So it's 8:45 later.
All right, guys, I'm sorry. One more. I'm gonna see if I can find a really good one just to.
Hey, man, returning your call. I've been sick. Something in my throat. It was fucked up. I'm finally short of getting over it, but I'm not going anywhere. Well, I hope, like I said, everything went well, and I'm returning your call. And you can call me anytime. It's no big deal. I'll be around. And anyway, later.
So I think that that's a good one to leave on because he always said later, and yeah. So Rifters, I'm sorry to break your hearts, but the great Alan Lee is no longer with us, but he'll always be in our hearts just by his positivity, his humor, and all that. Um, it's gonna be a rough couple days for me, but yeah, I got 3 phones of a whole bunch of voicemails from the great Alan Lee, just knowing how much I was loved by him, and I loved him very much. So there's one thing I'll leave you guys on, and it's this. The last time I saw Alan, He was in the hospital, and his words were very semi. I was holding his hand, and I said, Alan, squeeze my hand if you know that I love you. And he squeezed my hand. All right, guys. Have a great night. And I hope tonight you all feel that Alan Lee is squeezing your hand.